Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, Rapporteur Kuz, Shadow Rapporteurs, members of the committee, Commissioner Gabriel, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to see you all in good health and actually continuing discharging our obligations, our tasks in an effective manner. As a reporting member for Chapter 2, I am happy to present our work, main findings and recommendations. So the category 1A, competitiveness for growth and jobs, is the third largest category of spending with recognized EU value added. The EU finances here research and innovation, education and training, energy and transport, also space programs. Obviously, research and innovation actually accounts for around 55% of 2019 spending. A couple of words about main characteristics of spending in this chapter. We have here a diversity of spending, diversity of policies, and also stakeholders. And these are the main characteristics. Importantly, mostly the spending takes place under direct management. In terms of some other characteristics, mainly we are talking here about grants to public and to private beneficiaries participating in various projects. These are research centers, universities, public administrations, individuals, small and medium-sized companies. And the risk is obviously different for each of these categories. There is a high risk for small and medium-sized enterprises because they either do not have a capacity to deal with the complex rules, or they may be startups that just start using the EU financing. The beneficiaries are located in various EU member states as well as in the associated and third countries. And we found high risk of various errors in the latter, basically in the associated and third countries. And last but not the least, reimbursement is on the basis of the costs declared by the beneficiaries. And we found also in the previous years that reimbursement is much more prone to error than entitlement spending. Basically, what did we do to audit the expenditure in 2019? Our current approach for assessing whether the transactions underlying the accounts comply with the EU rules and regulations is to rely mainly on direct testing of compliance for large random representative sample of transactions. And based on a comprehensive risk assessment, we divide our sample in high risk and low risk expenditure and different strata for the various MFF headings for which we report. Let me now come to the main findings. The estimated level of error for 2019 has been material. It was 4%. This rate is in a way a return to the trend that we have seen in the previous years, where the exchange rate has fluctuated around 5 to 4%, with 2018 being a somewhat an outlier because of specific characteristics of spending in that year. We have selected 130 transactions in this category of spending, and 39% or 51 of tested transactions were affected by error. Just over half, that is 28, in 28 transactions, the errors we detected could be quantified. And almost all errors were due to beneficiaries misinterpreting the complex eligibility rules or incorrectly calculating the eligible costs. We, as in the previous years, also looked at the reliability of the control systems of the Commission. For this, we reviewed, for Horizon 2020, ex post audits carried out by both the Commission and contracted external auditors. In some of the files we reviewed, we found inconsistent sampling approaches and weaknesses in documentation of the work done and reporting of audit findings, as well as in the quality of audit procedures. So in 2018, if you remember, we have verified 20 such transactions, and we reported that in 10 we could not fully rely on the Commission. In 2018, we did the same job regarding additional 20 transactions, and we found that in 7 there were difficulties for us to rely on the work of the Commission auditors and of the contracted auditors. So basically, in 2 years, out of 40 transactions, in 17 of the transactions, we had difficulties to rely on the work of the Commission or contracted auditors, and therefore the work towards potential introduction of the attestation engagement that we at the Court of Auditors aiming for will need to continue. So let me come now to the overall conclusions. The level of error in spending on competitiveness for growth jobs, it was material, 4%. The main source of errors is reimbursement of ineligible costs declared by beneficiaries. Our results indicate that research expenditure remain a high risk area and the main source of error. And the European Court of Auditors cannot yet use the results of the Commission ex post audit work at this stage. And finally, a couple of words on our main recommendations. We issued several recommendations for Horizon 2020. For example, to carry out more targeted checks on the small and medium-sized enterprises' cost claims under Horizon 2020 and enhance its information campaign on the funding rules. Also, to carry out a campaign to remind all Horizon 2020 beneficiaries of the rules for calculation and declaration of personnel costs. To address the observations that arose following our review of the ex post audits that I mentioned already. And importantly, for the third round of contracted outsourced audits, to take appropriate measures to ensure that the auditors are fully aware of the Horizon 2020 rules and verify the quality of their work. And finally, for the next research framework program for Horizon Europe, to further simplify the rules for calculating personnel costs that, as I already mentioned, was the main source of various errors. Madam Chair, I would like to stop here and give the floor back to you. Thank you very much for your kind attention.